In this episode of Fictional Hangover, we talk about fillering around, an oddly handsome unicorn centaur pie baker, frustrating families with one of the worst characters in the world, and getting fair value for yourself, in our discussion of In an Absent Dream by Seanan McGuire. Hey everybody, welcome to Fictional Hangover, a podcast about young adult and new adult, and sometimes other books, series, authors, voice actors, and illustrators that is full of spoilers. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Claire, and today we're going to discuss In an Absent Dream by Seanan McGuire.
Standard disclaimer. If you haven't read this book, please remember that Fictional Hangover is all about spoilers. If you haven't read or listened and don't want to be spoiled, stop listening to us and go read the book. Read or listen to the book, then come back. If you haven't done this but want to pretend that you have, or if you don't care about spoilers, or if you just like the show so much that you don't care about any of that, then listen up. We've been doing graphic novels lately, and so I'm just automatically cutting out the or listen. No, put it back in. Put it back in.
No,
read
you
or
can
listen
to this one.
You
and
can
it's a very
listen
good
to
audiobook.
this one.
So yes,
It really is. Yes.
But I think next week you can revert back. It's fine.
Yeah. Okay. Something that we need to just go ahead and say at the beginning of this episode is everyone go and join our Discord and talk about this book with us.
Yes. Links are everywhere. Everywhere.
Links are everywhere.
Do you know where they are?
Join.
Everywhere.
Everywhere. Literally everywhere. I'm not sure why I said it like that.
You should get the QR code,
but you know
put
what?
on a t-shirt and just walk around, and then people will be like, oh, what's on that QR code? And they'll take a picture, and not take a picture of the boobs, they're taking, they're looking at the QR code. And then suddenly, it's a Discord. Let's join the Discord.
Yeah, okay.
Why not? Why
not? I mean, there's plenty of stuff in our Redbubble shop that people just don't buy, so we might as well just add one more.
Then this is a design that I don't mind theft so much because it gets it out there. Or people are just scrolling Redbubble like, what's this QR code? And they're like, oh, I'll scan it. It's like, you fell into our trap, did you? I feel like I need to do a standard disclaimer. I've just eaten a lot of cheese at lunchtime, so I've got the cheese sweats and the cheese high because I had cheese on toast with shred bit or whatever you want to call it. So I'm like, woo! So enjoy.
That's fantastic. Yes, we are recording at a very different time today than we normally do.
You can tell because this is sunlight. And
it's
this
amazing.
is only for the Patreon. Oh no, book club. Everybody gets to see this.
Do they? I feel like I stopped posting. book club for everyone. But hey, you know what? Post it for everyone. It's for everyone to see. I'm doing it again.
Oh.
Okay, we should get started.
Welcome to the daylight. Yeah, give me some background information. I'm just fillering here.
Okay.
Floundering.
I like fillering. Is that a word?
Fillering.
I like it.
It
I like
is
fillering.
now.
It is now. Look out for the shirt on Redbubble that no one will buy. Everyone go to Redbubble and buy at least one Fictional Hangover item. Background info is from the same Nerdist article that I've been using for every Seanan McGuire book every time forever.
I'm noticing a theme.
I know. I think you challenged me last time to continue to use it every time, so I will.
And it'll get down to just like one single sentence at a time so you can preserve the amount of words.
Yeah. So, this bit is obviously about this book. And Seanan says, well, it's not going to be that way at the end because the article is older than her newest books. So, it's just going to be random words that I've selected. Anyway, this one, words that don't even go together in sentences, by the way.
Stop fillering.
I'm fillering! Catherine was a very bookish child who went through a door into a world where no one could cheat. The main rule of the market is it's kind of the libertarian dream, but actually working. You cannot take advantage of anyone. You must pay people fair value for anything that they offer you unless it's a genuine gift. If I have 500 My Little Ponies and you have one My Little Pony, then asking you for one pony and asking me for one pony is a different value. So you actually have to give to each according to their needs and take from each according to their available resources. And that resonated with a lot of people because we're living in a world that loves to take advantage of us. She goes on to say it was kind of a sad one for her to write because while she loved Lundy, she's not getting resurrected. We're not resurrecting every character who dies. That would be ridiculous. So setting up a book where that happened and then following it with her is kind of a confirmation that this is someone who stayed dead. So people got to kind of fall in love with Lundy and then realize, oh, crud cakes, she's definitely not coming back. Wah, wah.
Wah, wah. Which actually falls nicely into my initial thoughts, which is this book is very different from the others.
Yes, it is. It is very different. And I like it.
Yes.
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 Yeah. I like this one a lot. I like that we travel back in time. We're in the 60s, although you wouldn't really know. It's not hippies.
Sometimes somewhere else.
Yes. Anyway, shall we dig in?
Let's open the door and go through.
Oh, be sure. Are you sure? Be sure.
Only if you're sure.
Fillering! In 1962, Catherine Victoria Lundy turned 6 years old. She had a sister who was 6 years younger, and a brother who was 6 years older, and a mother who was busy with the baby, and a father who was busy being principal of a school. But they were a good-ish family who cared about each other. Catherine, never Kate or Kat or Kitty, did not have any friends because her classmates thought she would tattle on them to her father, the principal. They thought she was a nerd, a teacher's pet, and, well, yeah, that's true. And Catherine was completely fine with it. She knew she would grow up to be a librarian because her favorite thing in the world to do was read, and librarians get to be surrounded by books every single day. By 8 years old, she had her entire life planned out. She was perfectly normal and perfectly remarkable, which set the rest of her life in motion.
On the last day of second grade, Catherine did not rush out of school like all the rest of the students, instead preferring to sit quietly and read. But her teacher was ready to begin her summer and ushered Catherine out of her book and out of her classroom. Catherine, nose back in her book, walked home down her usual path, but where she should have turned right, her feet inexplicably turned her left instead. She continued walking and reading until the leaves of a giant tree in the middle of her path blocked the light from her pages. When Catherine looked at the tree, she noticed it had a door, and on the door was a sign reading, "Be sure." Catherine, sensible as always, was completely sure. She dropped her book and walked through the door. Hours later, everyone realised she was missing and not quietly reading in her room, and set out to search for her.
Catherine walked down a long, twisting hallway with an ornate rug on the floor and realized she must be inside someone's house. But turning around to leave, she found the door had disappeared. She meandered down the hallway and finally came upon cross-stitched signs framed on the walls containing rules. Rules with a capital R. Catherine always followed the rules. Rule 1, ask for nothing. Rule 2, names have power. Rule 3, always give fair value. Rule 4, take what is offered and be grateful. Rule 5, remember the curfew. Well, that's very confusing and doesn't make much sense at all. After reading the rules, Catherine found another door and went through.
The other side of the door wasn't the path home, but instead it led to what looked like a carnival, market, craft fair all rolled into one. The Goblin Market, she would later learn. There were strange figures all around, not quite people, for some were fairies and some were giants and others were other things. As she stood gazing around, Catherine was approached by a girl with owl eyes and feathers in her hair. She told Catherine not to speak or ask anything, but to come with her to see the archivist. Catherine screamed, of course, but the owl girl called Moon stopped her and pulled her through the market to a shack housing the archivist. The archivist told Catherine that Rule 1 could be waived for the time being, and that she could ask questions without needing to pay for them. Moon left, and Catherine took the archivist's hand and travelled inside the shack.
The archivist's shack was full of books, so we already know that Catherine loved the place. The archivist gave her permission to ask questions freely and tried to help her understand the rules. She also suggested that, since Rule 2 says that names have power, she should call herself something different that doesn't belong only to her. Catherine chose her last name, Lundy, and the archivist told her she's not the first Lundy to come through the door. Lundy knew it was her father who came before, though she never thought he'd be the type. The archivist also told Lundy that the doors to this place opened several times, so she could come and go, but when she turned 18, the door wouldn't open anymore. The archivist, mostly sure that Lundy understood the rules and knew about fair value, not trading a sock when she could trade a single hair, for instance, sent her on her way to learn about the goblin market with Moon. Since she was allowed to ask anything of the archivist on her first visit, Lundy asked to be able to come back and read her books. The archivist agreed, with fair value being only that she cared for the books. And then Amanda swoons.
That is fair value.
It's amazing.
People who look after books when they
I
borrow
know.
them. That's Moon and Lundy ran around the market, and soon Lundy realised Moon was playing with her, which is something that she's never really experienced before. Moon offered to take debts for Lundy if she made a mistake, and only if she would pay her back later, and Lundy agreed, not really knowing what she agreed to. The two ran around stalls until they approached one run by a unicorn centaur pie baker. Moon asked what Lundy had with her in her pockets, and she revealed 2 pencils, a quarter, and a piece of chalk. Moon took the pencils and traded them for meat and fruit pies, 10 of each for both of them, that they would retrieve in 2s, which seemed to be fair trade, especially when Lundy had a growling tummy. Pies eaten, Moon declares they would be good friends.
Outside the goblin market, back through the door, 8 days passed. Lundy's mother was distraught, and so was her brother, and even her baby sister, but not her father. He knew what it was like through the doorway and knew the goblin market wouldn't keep his daughter on her first trip through the door. He remembered kisses he received when he was 16 from a hind who knew he was leaving and not going to return even before he knew himself. When he saw his daughter walking home without her socks, with feathers in her hair, he rushed out to hold her. She and Moon, and another, Mockery, fought the wasp queen to save the pomegranate fields, and she swore she would never return because Mockery died. She was lying, of course, and they both knew it.
When Lundy was 10, everyone, even her teachers, started treating her like a girl, like she was stupid and only interested in hairbrushes. During one particularly nasty encounter with her math teacher, Lundy left the classroom and found her door again. She returned to class to get her backpack, announced she had vomited all over the bathroom and was leaving for the day, and went back through her door. She went to see Vincent, the unicorn centaur pie maker.
It's hard to say unicorn centaur pie baker.
It really is. She went to see Vincent, the unicorn centaur pie baker, and traded 3 pencils and a pencil sharpener for a year's worth of pies for herself and Moon. It was hard for her to stop carrying things in 3s, but she would need to learn that her friend Mockery was gone, dead, without fair value. But death is never fair.
Lundy went to the archivist, who told her she's no longer protected as she was with her first visit. But Lundy had been practicing asking questions without really asking for 2 years and felt prepared. The archivist told her where she could find Moon, with a warning that things have changed since she left. Lundy found Moon by a stream, looking more owl-like than before. Without Lundy and mockery, Moon took on more debts than she should have, and now had a beak instead of a mouth and fingers long like wings. Lundy offered Moon pies, paying off one of the debts she owed her, which made her beak return to a mouth. Then Lundy offered to take another one of her debts. The reunited friends held hands, and soon Lundy's fingernails grew long like talons, while Moon's shrank back, closer to normal, but not quite there yet.
That night, Lundy went back to the archivist, who traded her a safe place to sleep if she would organise her books, which was a fair value trade. I would love to just, I love organising books. Lundy asked about Moon's debts, and the archivist suggested they visit an old man who does all the laundry and offered to help him. So they did the next morning. By the end of the day, Lundy no longer had talons, and Moon was more like a girl than she had been in a long time. Later, the archivist explained to Lundy that the market itself knew fair value, and that sometimes it helped people who needed it, and sometimes it did not. Greedy people in the beginning turned into birds, and now, if you weren't able to pay your debts, you became a bird too, which was what was happening to Moon.
The next day, Lundy decided she needed a bath, and her nose decided Moon needed one too. So, after offering to pay, Moon went with Lundy to a bathhouse. Lundy began to understand why Moon had so many debts after she wouldn't take a bath unless someone else paid for her. It seemed Moon didn't like to do difficult things or things she didn't want to, even if the cost was simple. Luckily, Lundy brought her backpack full of treasures like buttons and thread and pencils, and was fine with Moon paying her back later by showing her where the best berries grew. They bathed and decided that they'd be friends forever and that Lundy would never leave again. But again, she knew it was a lie.
Lundy returned through her door with battle scars and leather-wrapped fingers and lots of feathers in her hair for promises that she never intended to break and would have to pay back when she returned to the goblin market. She only meant to go home long enough to gather new things to barter with, but she saw her bed and thought a small nap wouldn't hurt. It did, though. The next day, her father plucked each of the feathers from her hair and then sent her to boarding school for troubled girls, where she would never be alone long enough to find the door again. A couple of years passed, and Lundy, with fully grown eagle feathers growing down her neck where the downy soft baby feathers used to be, again found her door.
Lundy, now almost 13, almost felt a little lost when she went into the market in the dark. Some things were still the same, some things were different, and she was different too. She knew the archivist would be in her shack, so she took off running, and the archivist met her with open arms. Lundy asked about Moon, but the archivist shook her head. After Lundy left again and was gone for years, Moon stopped believing in fair trade and became an owl. But Lundy still wanted to save her friend. The archivist gave her permission to sleep in her shack like always, but Lundy would have to work harder at organizing her books the next day after she'd had a proper sleep, a proper meal, and proper time to think about Moon.
The next day, after she visited with Vincent the unicorn centaur pie baker and traded more pencils for pies, Lundy ate and searched for a tent the archivist told her about where she'd be able to pay off Moon's debts. Inside the tent was the archivist. They talked of fair value and how it was different for everyone, and, though she offered everything in her bag to pay for Moon to become human again, the archivist told her it wasn't enough. After turning Moon back, there would be one more cost. Lundy would lose her friendship with Moon because Moon would never see them as equals again. Lundy took that risk, gambling that it wouldn't happen. If it didn't, if they stayed friends for 1 year, then Lundy would take on Moon's debt in a different way. She would become a bird. Regardless of the possibilities, losing her friend or losing herself, Lundy had to save Moon because it was fair value.
Lundy ran through the wood to find Moon, and she spotted her up in a tree as an owl, but losing feathers fast. She fell down from the tree, but Lundy was there to catch her. Moon asked about owning her, but Lundy told her all was forgiven, and they laughed and ran off together, still best friends. Lundy began spending more time with the archivist, which made Moon a little jealous, but she soon started working as an apprentice to Vincent and made great pies and earned extra pies in payment. They each took on small debts here and there, and sometimes had feathers and sometimes had beaks, but they remained human, and they remained friends. An entire year passed without Lundy realizing it, and when Moon went out to work with Vincent, the archivist called Lundy to her arm, and she flew there as a bird. She would have to work very hard to become human again.
Another year passed, and Lundy gathered berries and game and did errands for shop owners in the market, and she finally brought her way back to being human. Before staying forever, Lundy decided she had to go back home one last time to say goodbye to her family. So she travelled back through the door and along not-so-familiar streets to her childhood home. Her father answered the door when she knocked, and she told him she would be going back to the market for good, but she had to say goodbye. He made her feel terrible for leaving, and let her know that her mother cried herself to sleep every night because of her. Her mother joined them and then slapped Lundy, so upset at her for leaving. Lundy told her father that he did offer her fair value for her life, sending her away to boarding school to keep her from leaving again, instead of keeping her there himself. He countered that it would only be fair value if she stayed home with them for a year, hoping to convince her to change her mind.
So much rage happens now. Lundy's father did all the paperwork required to enroll her in school, most faked from the time she was meant to be at the boarding school, but instead of wishing her well, he insisted she not be an embarrassment. Lundy told her father if he went back on their bargain, if he didn't give her fair value for her year, or if he tried to do anything that would force her to stay, she would leave without a second thought. He responded that the market preys on children and wouldn't try to keep her unless it wanted something from her. Everything he said made her want to leave even more.
But she stayed. She stayed for a year. Not for her father or for her mother, but for Diana, her little sister, who wasn't so little anymore. Diana wanted her sister to see her grow up, to talk about boys, and so Lundy stayed. She went through the door again at 16, but Diana's birthday was in a week, and she promised to go back to be there for it. Moon was upset and stormed off, but the archivist only reminded Lundy that her time to choose was running short. Lundy said she was sure and she would be back, but then she went back through the door to her sister.
Lundy returned to the Goblin Market 3 more times, but always came back to Diana, who always had something else she wanted Lundy to stay for. When it was finally time for Lundy to go, her 18th birthday growing ever closer, Lundy explained to Diana that she never saw herself growing old in their world, and that nothing seemed right there, so she was leaving for the market and not coming back. Diana said she wanted Lundy to see her go to high school and wanted her to be her sister. Lundy gathered her belongings and ran for the market.
She went to see the archivist, told her she didn't want to turn 18, so she would give all the things she brought with her if only she could have something that would make her not reach the age where she had to agree to stay in one place or the other. The archivist took Lundy's belongings and gave her a crystal of potion, but tried to warn her before she drank it. Lundy didn't listen to the archivist's warning and drank, but if she had only listened... The archivist told Lundy that wanting to be in both places wasn't giving fair value, and, though now she would never turn 18, she was banished from the Goblin Market. Lundy ran back home, even though she was sure she wanted to stay.
Many years later, in 1990, Eleanor West visited Lundy's home after receiving a letter from a much older Diana, whose son disappeared just like her older sister did. Her sister, though, didn't get older, too, but instead, she grew younger. A 14-year-old Lundy answered the door and looked at Eleanor with much older eyes. Eleanor introduced herself to the old teenager, and together they left through the door, not to the Goblin Market, but to Eleanor West's School for Wayward Children. Where Lundy dies by getting her brain removed.
Wah, wah.
Wah, wah.
Oh. Oh. Oh.
There's no words right now. So while we continue to go,
we'll fillering around.
We're
trying to get some
fillering
words.
around. You go listen.
Trying to come up with some words.
Yes, you go listen to this promo from another show. Fillering.
What's up, fellow book nerds? It's time to feed your fiction shelf addiction. Hear book club style roundtables, bookish chats, and more. Join Tamara and her friends for fantasy and thriller read-alongs and other shenanigans over on the Shelf Addiction podcast. Listen now on your podcatcher of choice. Subscribe for free, and you too can have a shelf addiction.
Fillering. I can't think of one word though.
What?
Rage!
Oh my god. Diana is the worst guilt tripper of them all, and I hate her guts out.
Hard agree. 100%. Have no notes on that comment.
She's the worst. She's the worst. Yeah. And I am quite familiar with guilt tripping, being guilt tripped. And I hate it. I hate it.
Yeah. Oh, but I want you to see me go to high school, and I want you to be there so I can talk about boys. Yeah. Oh, shut up! You've got friends for that. You don't need a sister. I was raging. That scene when
rage.
Diana's making those, was it a fluffernutter sandwich or something like that?
Yes.
And she's whining. It's petulant whining to Lundy about how she wants her to stay there. And it's not as if Diana's like a small child. She's a teenager herself. So she's fully aware that she is manipulating her sister for her own needs. She doesn't once think what's best for her. There's a reason she's obviously disappearing. And the parents have not told her why or where she's going. So she could have a conversation about it. If she hadn't promised her father, she would never mention it. The whole fair value thing.
Yeah.
But she could have wrote Diana a letter, which she would have received after she'd gone back to the Goblin Market, which would not have broken the rules as far as I can understand.
Or, because Lundy is such a fan of loopholes. She tried to loophole her way out of turning 18, and it blew up in her face. But I'm just surprised. There are a lot of things that I'm surprised by in this book, and it's not like, oh, it's a shock, but like how does Lundy not value her life enough? Because she's been spending so much of it in the market learning fair value, but she never gets fair value. She gives everything away for Moon. She gives everything away for her sister. She doesn't seem to care about herself at all, and that's not fair value.
I completely agree. Like, I half wanted Moon to be like, when you think about favourite characters and you kind of list them in your head, if nobody particularly stands out. And I was going through them and thinking, oh well, I quite like Moon as a character. Really fantastic aesthetic, like the energy, but actually Moon used Lundy so much that their friendship was not equal at all.
No,
like Moon had so much power over Lundy, and Lundy just willingly gave it. It was like, oh, I finally got a friend, so all I'm going to do is be
a doormat.
Doormat, yes, thank you, a doormat. Just be a doormat for her. It frustrated the life out of me. And this book is so different to the others because it is so sad. You know Lundy's not going to survive. You know what happens to Lundy because obviously this is a prequel story.
Yeah.
And she's so happy at the Goblin Market, and every time she comes home it's a horrible situation. I don't like any of our family members at all, and it's like, you know what, just fill a bag full of pencils and other paraphernalia and just go. Don't take a nap. Just go and take all the bits and pieces from your family's house. That means that you'll have a somewhat easier time in bargaining at the Goblin Market, and just go.
Yeah, I hate it.
Which is probably one of the most frustrating aspects of this one, because so far it's the only one, that I think, where the door opens and closes all the time. She has that ability to leave and come back until she's 18. All the other ones, it's you were there or you are kicked out.
Yeah. It's so interesting, this one, because it is so different, and you see, okay, well, this is what we've learned thus far, and now this one, oh, it's completely different. There's more things to learn. There's more things that can be crazy in the future. There's more things that are going to be different. What are we going to expect in the next book? How's the next book going to be different? What's it going to be like? And we know from the pattern that the next book takes place back in, like, the main timeline with Eleanor's school. So, like, what's going to happen? We don't know. Because this one is so different. It breaks the mold. So it's very exciting. But it's also so serious. I mean, the one before was all cakes and colors and ridiculousness. And this one was just so sad.
Devastating, absolutely devastating. You built up to really like Lundy and really empathise with Lundy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just ripped away.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is because, like you say, Lundy does not value or seem to value herself. And then her family are frustrating.
They're so frustrating. Like, when she goes back home for the second time and her father just starts yelling at her, and he's like telling her she's not gonna be an embarrassment, and then, like, her mom comes out and you think, oh, it's gonna be a nice reunion because you just learned her mother cries for her every single night, and then she just slaps her in the face. Like, nah, I would have just been like, okay, done, give me my pencils, I'm out.
No.
Don't get slapped in the face.
Yes. It was somewhat surprising, but also not, that her father had been to the Goblin Market. But then I kind of see the character. I see your father and I'm like, why the hell would the Goblin Market want you?
Well,
Enough
obviously
to open up a door.
They didn't, because he left. I like to think that he was so terrible and they were like, nah, get out. You're done. We don't want you anymore.
He probably never once, like, owed value and grew a feather. He probably saw when he plucked all those feathers from Lundy that time, and that was awful. It was absolutely awful.
Yes.
You can imagine that he is ashamed of Lundy for even contemplating, never mind entering into the bargain of needing to grow feathers.
Yeah, there's in that scene where they're talking about that, you know, they're arguing, and she's like, have you not ever worn feathers? And he's like, no, I'd rather die. Like, yikes.
So I can only imagine everybody at the Goblin Market was like, ugh, this guy, ugh.
Ugh.
Ugh. I can't imagine him being a good principal either.
Well, he probably is a very good principal because he seems to be so rigid and unimaginative, and, like, in the 1960s, you've got your stodgy man principals.
Oh,
He would have been a great principle. Yes. When was the last time that we yelled about Republicans?
Oh,
What book was that?
See, it's probably last month. It's we've got to get it once a month
We do.
at least. I don't know. What I did like was the market itself. I got really strong Stardust vibes from it. You know, the market at the wall, and the Goblin Market from Nettleborn as well.
Yeah.
And I realised that Goblin Markets are very, very similar in literature, that they're full of wild and wonderful and brilliant creatures, and they're colourful and diverse, and you've got to be careful what you say and who you say things to. So they do have like a bit of a framework, but the vibes were that kind of magicalness that really, honestly, I got those Stardust and I got those Nettleborn vibes, and I really liked it. I don't know if the Goblin Market is somewhere I would want to necessarily stay for a long period of time, because I don't know how well I'd be able to follow those rules. I'd be too scared to slip up.
Yeah.
So I'd be like, oh, just turn us into a bird. It's just going to be easier. I can't work out your value system.
Yeah, I'll just be a bird. It's fine.
It's like when I go to America and I see a price tag, I'm like, oh, that seems cheap. Oh, then you add the tax on afterwards. Doesn't make any sense to me. Here, if the price is on, that's the price you pay. That makes sense to me.
Well, it doesn't.
You've got to add on 20%. I don't do percentages in my head.
It doesn't make a lot of sense to us either. It's fine.
That's fine. Well, next time, just see if you can get away with like 3 pencils and a pencil sharpener.
Yeah, I'll trade that. I'll trade 3 pencils to the oddly handsome unicorn centaur pie baker. I feel like that needs to be a shirt. Oddly handsome unicorn centaur pie baker.
Yes.
And he's got an apron on that says spiteful baker.
Does he have like a sassy hip cock? And if so, which is the hip that's sassy cocked?
Back, the hind hip with his tail doing a swish. Yes,
nice,
tail swish.
Nice, love it. So earlier today, my little boy his backpack broke, so we got him a new one, and we were taking the backpack dangle things off one and putting them on the other, and I'm raking in his backpack to pull out his bits and pieces, and I swear I pulled out 6 pencils, some rocks, and a couple of badges, and in my head I went, what do I get the Goblin Market for these?
Was he planning to go through a door?
I'm worried about that now. Unless it's got Minecraft or Kirby. If that little pink puff ball is on the other side of the door, he's gone forever. Otherwise, I think he'd be like, nah, do I have to wear pants there? Yeah, no, it's fine, I'll stay here.
I don't know that he'd have to wear
terrified.
pants.
Sorry?
I don't know that he'd have to wear pants.
Well, I
don't know that he would have to wear pants. Like, I don't
if he's going
see
to the Goblin Market
being a
he
rule
needs
there.
to wear pants. No, it's my rule. If you go to the Goblin Market, wear pants.
I mean, I think that's a good general rule to always wear pants of some sort. Cover your bits.
Keep your privates private. Wear pants.
Yes, but
unless you are the oddly handsome centaur unicorn pie baker.
Unicorn centaur. You said the words wrong. Unicorn centaur.
So oddly handsome unicorn centaur pie baker.
Yes.
Then does he wear pants? Or just a spiteful baker apron?
Just a spiteful baker apron.
Okay.
Yeah. I can see it. I can see it all in my head. I need to
perfect.
Start drawing him. Oh my gosh. Did you have a favorite character? Was it the oddly handsome unicorn centaur pie baker?
the more that we're talking about it, yes, it was.
Yes.
I mean, I was going to say The Archivist, if only for all of their books.
Yes.
And I would when I was a teenager, I would actively take all my books off my bookshelves and then rearrange them and reorganize them. It would take me days because I would just pick up a book and just start reading it from random parts. And then just, I'm going to read this chapter here, or, you know, I know you did the same thing. And
Of course.
like the idea of just sitting and rearranging all those books.
It's so
I
nice.
am that person in a bookshop who does rearrange books into their correct series order.
I am a librarian, and
You're a professional book arranger.
I'm a professional, yes, professional book arranger. I like The Archivist too. She was such a nice character, and I mean, I wish that Lundy had stayed and like had gotten. I almost feel like she would have become the next archivist. I mean, like she's been there. She's been there the whole time. She says, but like I feel like the mantle would have been passed because Lundy so believed in fair value, even though she didn't give it for herself. But like she really followed the rules. She tried. So I think that she would have been. I think that she would have been the next one to take over.
It sets up from the beginning, doesn't it? She knows what she wants to do in her life is to be a librarian because it involves reading books, and an archivist is a librarian of a different, you know, family. It's within the librarian family tree.
Yes.
Because librarianship, I mean, covers a lot.
Oh, it does. It definitely does.
I mean, we're two very different librarians we're cousins on the librarian family tree.
Yes, we are.
And it's the archivist there as well, and yeah. So it was setting up to be there. I think honestly she would have taken over.
I think so.
I mean, even Papa Lundy might have been set up because of his understanding of fair value and being a bit of a stick. He's a bit of a stick in the mud, though.
Because of his rigidity, I think.
His rigidity, he had potential, but I think he was a bore.
I think that he got really confused about his life choices when he made out with the deer and didn't know what he was doing and didn't like what was happening to him because he was different than what he was supposed to be. And I think because he is so strongly Republican that he couldn't handle it. And so that's why he left, and that's why he never came back.
Yeah.
He was questioning everything, and he didn't like it.
Yeah. It wasn't all black and white.
No. It was a very pretty brownish reddish deer girl. Nope. She's not wearing an apron and serving me a sandwich, so I have to run away.
Oh, can I say what I really hated in the book?
Yes.
And it wasn't because of it wasn't in the book. It was because of societal norms at the time.
Yes, of course.
And it was and I hate this even now. When Lundy is talking about having to go home, and she's like, "Oh, if I go home, my mother's just going to hand us the baby, and I'm just going to have to look after the baby, and I don't want to look after the baby. Just, you know, help mum out, do this, do that." And I'm like, I don't like when parents use their older children as the responsible.
No, it's not fair.
Of the younger.
It's not fair at all. I currently hate that right now. But you know what? It was only Lundy. It wasn't her older brother. He didn't have to watch the baby.
And that's why I'm saying it's the societal norms of pressuring the women. You've got to be the little woman who comes home and makes dinner for your man and pop out the children, and no, I don't like it. And some people will love looking after their younger siblings, and if you enjoy it, then fine. But as long as, for me, the parents don't pressure for them to do that. If you need the older ones to take care of the younger ones, should you have had the younger ones?
No. You should figure out your life choices and your responsibilities and let your children grow up without that burden, because that's all they're going to feel. They're going to feel like, oh, well, I can't move out, I can't grow up, I can't, go on dates because, I got to watch my sibling, I got to take care of them. It's not fair.
And again, it's generally the girl who has to do it, not the boy, because the boy gets to go out and play sports, and boys will be boys. And this is very general, sweeping statements. There are family situations where there are varying degrees of, well, actually, it would help the older ones to help the younger ones because of, familial situations. So it's a very sweeping statement, and I'm not trying to insult anybody by saying that, but I just feel like Lundy did not care about children. She didn't want to look after the child. She was a child herself, so should have been allowed to be a child. I think a generalised statement, commentary, because I do know that there are other family situations where, the older ones kind of needed to help out.
No, I think what it is, are you being forced to do it, or are you doing it by choice?
Yeah, I think you could probably boil it down to that.
Because that's not fair. That's not fair value, Claire.
No.
And if we've learned anything in this book, it is fair value.
Yes.
There's one thing that we haven't talked about, that it wasn't even talked about in the book very much, but there's something that I wish that we could have gotten. I wish that we got to learn more about Mockery and the quests that Lundy and Moon and Mockery went on. Like, they destroyed the Wasp Queen in the 8 days that Lundy was gone. I mean, time works differently there, obviously. It would have to. But you went on this quest and killed a queen, and now you've gone back home. They went on so many things. They did so many quests, but we didn't get to see the quests. We only got to see the brief interactions in the market. And I wish that we could have seen those.
I want to see that. I want to know what the adventures were. And I get the point of the book isn't what happened at the Goblin Market per se.
Yeah.
It was the transitions. But damn, I want to know.
I know! I want to know.
It's like full-on D&D style adventures are taking place.
Yes.
I mean, come on. Quite clearly, Seanan McGuire had been reading Tolkien at the time, because he's just as bad. He'll spend an entire chapter describing trees and mountains. But you want a battle? You want the Battle of Helm's Deep? A paragraph, if you're lucky.
It's over. It's over already.
It's like, no, I want details, man.
Nope, you've taken a nap and now it's over. No.
Ooh, a nap sounds good right now. Let's go to Would You Rather.
Yeah, let's move on. Let's move on to Would You Rather. So then we can take a nap. But I mean, if you take a nap, are you going to miss your chance to go through your door? Are you going to...
Well, I'm not. I'm older than 18 now, so yeah.
That's true. You haven't...
Womp womp.
Haven't come up with any loopholes to reverse
create
age
my
yourself.
own daughter, my own fictional universe.
Fantastic.
We asked on social media, would you rather eat a fruit pie or a meat pie? On Facebook, 66% are eating the meat pie. On Instagram, 71% are eating the fruit pie. On TikTok, it's 69% eating the fruit pie. And on Threads, it was 60% having the meat pie. So quite an even split, really.
Yeah. It's such a different question than we normally ask. But it goes along with our monthly theme. The munchies.
Yes.
All of our books this month, or not all of them, but the majority of them Or is it all of them? I can't recall. All of them.
This
all
is
of
the
them.
only one that isn't strictly food, but I suppose
Yes.
it is now, isn't it? Well, not really, but they talk about pie so much.
They do talk about pies so much.
Shall we lay the law down and say, yes, this fulfills the book club theme?
It 100% fills the book club theme.
Then I am at 100%. And she quickly looks at the graphic for next month. Well, this month,
Update the
April.
graphic.
Update the graphic. It's going to be done live. We keep doing this. We keep having months where it's pretty much every single one is a book club challenge, which I'm quite enjoying. But that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, it's great. It is, because then, in a couple of months, we're going to cover one book that only halfway barely fits the theme, and we're just going to shoehorn it in. And it's going to be fine because we're the lords and masters of our own universe.
Well, exactly. It's our podcast. We do what the hell we want. Yes, every book now. Right. I have just done the live update to the graphic. Every book now fits in with the book club theme. I mean,
Fantastic.
we could be cheeky and actually tell people what they are, but, check out our social medias at Fictional Hangover.
Yes.
Okay, so let's do some comments instead from social media.
let's do.
Where it's at Fictional Hangover. Brie on Facebook said, Dutch apple pie to be exact.
Constance on Facebook says, but also on the flip side, I do love me a pierogi. Not necessarily a meat pie, but it's pretty close. Instead of a flaky crust, it's in a baked yeast bun. Though, even then, I prefer the potato and cheese ones over the meat one. Then she also said, give me some of that Dutch apple pie. We can't trust Constance because Constance is an oddly handsome unicorn centaur pie baker.
She is the original spiteful baker.
She is.
Drew on Facebook said, I will risk a mystery meat pie, which I think is very brave of her. Mystery meat.
Mystery meat.
She's choosing actively to have mystery meat.
She is. Katrina on Facebook says, easy one for me, this. I've never been a fan of fruit pies, so I will take the meat one.
And Emily on Facebook said, I'd go for a meat pie because I love me some fruit pies. The former fill me up quicker. Also, my family has a recipe for a meat pie with green beans and lots of cheese, to which she is also going to send us. So thank you, Emily.
Yay! Coral on Facebook says, right now I'm thinking of dinner and what to eat, and a chicken pot pie sounds really good. But then I'll have apple pie for dessert. Coral.
So that's Coral. That's option C. Or is she just playing us at our own game? And I think she's playing Would You Rather properly.
Yeah, she is.
Colin on Facebook says, I love a nice meaty pie. I like to jam my mouth on them and get gravy everywhere.
Claire on Facebook says, I much prefer meat pies. Bit of steak and kidney.
Sparks Lily Rose, author friend on Instagram, says, meat pie, hand size. That's a lady that knows what she wants.
Oh, indeed. And finally, Crinoline the Frog on Threads said, you know what turned me vegetarian? Chicken. So slimy and disgusting. Give me a fruit pie.
I am going to have a meat pie because I do not like cooked fruit.
That is a fine answer.
My mum, though, does make a really nice cheese and onion pie. So, hi, Mum. I did ask my son this third question the other day, and he said meat pie. And then he was like, ooh, he had to steal my phone to text my mum to say, Nana, can we please have meat pie for tea tomorrow night? Thank you very much. And she made him pie, and I got leftovers. So I'm very happy I have had meat pie this week.
That's
so I'm going to say meat pie because I hate fruit pie. I hate cooked apples. Yuck. I've had a peach cobbler that was nice once, but I hate cooked fruit. So meat pie, but I would actually prefer cheese and onion pie.
That's very interesting. I struggle with this one because I think I like both of them equally. And it just depends. It depends on what I'm feeling. Like, is it dinner or is it dessert? Is it my main source of food or is it something delightful that I can have on the side? Because if it's my main source of food, I would not choose a fruit pie. Like, if I was in the market and I traded my pencils, I would probably choose the meat pie. So I guess my answer is meat pie. But I do like a fruit pie. And it's getting
meat
close to
pie
lunchtime.
with lots of vegetables inside. And
Yes.
gravy.
Yes.
Now, are we thinking pastry or potato? Because then you've got your traditional pie pastry, or you got your mashed potato topped. 'Cause I do like fish pie, actually, with a cheesy sauce.
Any of that, that's fine. I like all of those things.
I
feel like
fish pie.
I don't want a fish pie. No. But I feel like there's the opportunity for more variety with a savory pie. Not necessarily a meat pie, but and there's more variety. I mean, it could be beef, it could be chicken, it could be steak, it could be fish, it could be anything. But a fruit pie has to be fruit.
Yeah.
There could be potatoes, there could be green beans, there could be carrots, there could be peas, there could be gravy, there could be...
It could be a cheese sauce, it could be a gravy sauce, it could be like to have them like
It
pork
could be
pies
a
and the gelatin,
tomato
which
sauce.
is freaky.
Yeah. It could be anything. I think there's more variety. There it is. There's more variety with a meat pie.
Plus, meat pie doesn't have cooked fruit in. Anywho.
Next question. Would you rather go to a school where your dad is the principal or go to boarding school?
I'm going to go to boarding school. Because then it might be some kind of dark academia kind of boarding school where I'll learn witchcraft or like join an occult society.
Yeah, or it's vamps and you get to go and be a vampire.
Yeah, maybe it's a vampire boarding school with a really cool occult society and a fantastic library.
Yes. Yeah, I think maybe boarding schools, they're not necessarily so abundantly popular in the United States. So I feel like there's just that idea that you're going to a completely different world and you're doing something completely different to what you're used to. You're separated from your family, you're like in a dorm room, you've got new people all over the place. I feel like a boarding school is more of an adventure.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, boarding schools in the UK are elite. You have to pay to go to a boarding school, and the chances are your family are stupid rich.
Yeah.
But if it's a dark academia boarding school, then you get
with
selected.
vampires.
With vampires and an occult society and an absolutely wonderful library, you get selected to go to that.
Yes. Or it's a boarding school in which you solve murders and write books and create Rube Goldberg machines and go to London.
And you can start a podcast. A murder mystery podcast.
Yes.
Yes. Sold,
all of these, yes.
Sold. We're
Boarding
doing all
school.
about a boarding
Done.
school. It's going to be great. We're going to solve murders as vampires, joining an occult society, sitting in a library doing a podcast.
Yes.
And then have a field trip to London. Brilliant.
All right.
Next question. Would you rather work as an apprentice to the oddly handsome unicorn centaur pie baker or the archivist?
Oh.
This is a difficult one.
I have to pick the archivist. There's no other answer, really.
That is the correct answer for me as well.
Yeah.
However, it's the oddly handsome unicorn centaur pie baker. Maybe you can just go for lunch with him every day.
Yeah, I mean, just take your pencils and get your pies from the oddly handsome unicorn centaur pie baker. Why does he like pencils so much?
I need the love story between the oddly handsome unicorn centaur pie baker and the archivist. It doesn't have to be the same ones from this book. It can be, transported. But I need an oddly handsome unicorn centaur pie baker and an archivist to find love. I need that book.
Okay.
Bree.
Yeah.
Superfan Bree.
Bree could rock this book.
You would rock that book. I know you could.
Yeah. In this case, though, I feel like the archivist is a solo. person.
Oh, yeah. Oh, gosh, yeah. Yeah. No, there's no rom-com in this, in An Absent Dream.
No.
There's certainly no rom, and there's definitely no com in this book.
No. I mean, there's one or two lines of com, but there's not any rom at all. Except for that time that her dad kissed that deer. But then he fled.
You kissed a deer, you kissed a deer.
And he questioned his life choices and fled. It's terrible.
Do you think it was
but it's fine
because not a deer as well, and he's like questioned because he's a hardened Republican?
No, it was not. It was very, very clearly Hind. Very clearly said she was very pretty deer girl. Not a stag.
Mm-hmm. You know he read the Chronicles of Narnia and had feelings for Mr. Tumnus. But his Republican sensibilities, yes.
Yeah, no.
Anywho.
Okay, next question.
Yes, please.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
You didn't pay your debt in the goblin market.
Shoot.
Would you rather turn into an owl or an eagle?
Both are excellent options. I like them both.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm going to go owl, though, because I love owls. I like eagles as well. We know I don't like birds, generally speaking.
Right.
But I do like owls and I do like eagles.
Yes.
So I think I'm going to go for an owl.
Okay.
But I can do that head to
I'm going to choose an eagle. Mostly because of all of those times. We can. But I choose eagle mostly because of the times that we have laughed about the sounds that eagles make.
That's why I'm not being an eagle as well. I want to be an owl. It's silent and deadly. You don't hear me coming.
Fine.
For change, I'll make other people have the jump scares when I come into a room.
Yeah. Oh, and
you
then
could
you
be
could
eagle-sized or person-sized?
I think I'm going to be eagle-sized. I don't think it would be... I'm going to try to remain in the world of the goblin market, and I feel like they transform into eagle-sized eagles and owl-sized owls.
Yes.
However, I have just remembered you're not supposed to die tonight with that weird owl cult, and now that's all I'm thinking of, and that I want you to be that kind of owl. I want you to join the owl cult. Not being the terrible people. Don't be the terrible people in the owl cult. Start your own owl cult.
I will be the head of the owl cult. They will worship me at their feet. We're getting a bit ahead of ourselves when it comes to the book club thing.
I know.
We're not drinking the Kool-Aid
We're not
this
cult.
month. We're
It's not time for cults yet.
No, we've got the munchies, not the cults. But still, they will worship at my feet.
It's fine.
Murder for me. They don't know. You don't have to do the murdering. But you do. But you don't. But you do. You don't. Okay. Last question. Would you rather stay in the market or stay with your sister? Should we say our answers after 3 together?
Yes.
One word. 1, 2, 3.
Market. Oh my gosh. Sister was the worst.
Nah, I did not like her at all.
She was the worst.
No pout on her. She was just trash.
Yeah. At least when the brother came back, because the brother's older, at least when he came back, I felt like his question was more innocent. Are you gonna be around for Christmas? Like, that's a fair question that a sibling could ask. And you could say yes or no to it. It's not like, oh, you better come back for Christmas because I haven't seen you at a Christmas in so long and you're my sister in Christmas.
I want you to be around for Christmas so you can watch me open my presents.
Ugh. I want you to be around for Christmas so you can give me presents.
You're going to be around for my birthday so you can give me presents. You're going to stay for high school so when I graduate you can give me presents.
Ugh.
I need to be around for high school so I can copy your homework.
Ugh.
The thing is though, Lundy is 6 years her senior, yeah?
Yes.
So if she's around for high school, is she? Because high school, you go to high school when you're 16?
I mean, it varies.
Thereabouts. So if you're in high school at age 16, how old's Lundy going to be?
6 years older.
Yeah. So was it 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22? She's going to be 22, yeah?
Yeah.
At 22, in the 60s.
In the 60s, she would be married with 6 children.
She'll either have gone to college, if her parents are liberal enough to have allowed that, or she'll probably be married.
Mm-hmm.
So, Deanna, I say this with the full vitriol it entails. Fuck off.
Yeah. Just fuck right off.
Oh.
Hate it.
Anywho.
Hate her. She's maybe one of the worst. Yeah, obviously we're going back to the market. I think Diana is maybe one of the worst characters that we've read in a long time. And we say this with love to Seanan McGuire if she's listening, because we are trying to get her to come on the show. So I don't just want to be like, I hate your characters, they're the worst. But we've said this in the past. Writing a truly detestable character is the mark of a great author.
Oh, it's a skill. It is a skill.
Yeah.
And what's even better about it is because Deanna is such a relatable character. If you are not related to a Deanna, either as a sibling or a cousin or an aunt or a mother or some way, if you do not know a Deanna that you are related to,
that means that you are the Diana.
knows a Deanna. Or you are the Deanna.
I took it the wrong way. I'm sorry. You were...
No, you could be. You could be the Deanna. You could be. And you might need to have to look in the mirror and have some self-reflection.
Yes.
But yeah, everybody knows by blood or friendship or marriage a Deanna. Oh, you are.
Ugh. Ugh, she's the worst.
And she's not a mystical, magical character. She's just a regular, trashy person.
Yes. Ugh.
Which makes it even better / worse depending on your opinion.
Yes.
Anywho.
Favorite final thought quote?
I'm going to give you 3.
Okay.
That's my camera. There we go.
Very good. Very good.
Thank you. Books were precious things meant to be treated well. You can't save anyone if you neglect yourself.
Oh, so true. And she did not learn that.
This is a massive lesson I think anybody can learn. You can't take care of family or friends. You can't take care of dependents or spouses or your own parents, depending on situations or whatever, unless you take care of yourself. You have to be a priority to be able to make other people a priority.
What is the saying? You can't pour from an empty cup?
Yeah. If you're not happy and healthy, you can't help other people be happy and healthy.
Yeah.
And lastly, she was very tired. She'd only intended to stop long enough to fill her pockets, but she was so tired. And surely a brief nap couldn't hurt. Feel hard. It's dangerous working from home. I'll just have a brief nap before my lunch.
It's fine. Okay.
Give me yours.
No one serves their friends by grinding themselves into dust on the altar of compassion.
Ooh.
And that one just ties so nicely into yours. You can't save anyone if you neglect yourself. Like, just learn fair value, Lundy. Yes. Learn it truly.
Yes.
I chose this one because it reminds me of us and our discussions of Would You Rather. It can be easy when hearing about someone else's adventures in a far-off magical land to say, I would never choose the mundane world over the fantastical. I would run into rivers of rainbow as fast as my legs would carry me, and I would never once look back. It's so often easy, when one has the luxury of being sure a thing will never happen, to be equally sure of one's answers. And that is just the essence of Would You Rather.
Yes.
And then finally, because I often try really hard to bring things back to Twilight.
Of course.
Wood does not customarily glitter. Few things do, unless they are attempting to lure something closer to themselves. Sparkle and shine are reserved for predators who can afford the risk of courting attention. This is the skin of a killer, Bella!
I'm so glad you picked that one up, because I was literally in this exact seat, because I was listening to it while I was at work, typing away and going, skin of a killer!
This is the skin of a killer, Bella!
Oh, I love it.
This is the door of a killer!
I think everything's tied back somehow to Twilight this year so far. We're doing really well.
We are. We really are. It's fantastic. Okay. If you liked this, try this. What are you going to suggest? And don't say Twilight.
Well, I had talked about how the Goblin Market reminded me of Stardust and Nettle and Bone. Mm-hmm. We've covered both of those, so go back to and check those out. Nettle and Bone obviously more recently, but Stardust we did a couple of years ago. And a December episode, I remember.
Yes.
So go back and check those out. And I was thinking, what can I recommend? And I thought, you know what? I'm going to recommend another Neil Gaiman, because it gives you that kind of sadness and inevitability. And it's The Ocean at the End of the Lane. And it's a fantastic book. It's quite short. And if you ever get the chance to see the stage show of it, which I have, it is absolutely phenomenal. So, go and see that as well. And it's a very good translation. So it's a hashtag tenuous link, but it's more that I give you the feels, but you do go into other worlds as well. So the summary from Goodreads: a middle-aged man returns to his childhood home to attend a funeral. Although the house he lived in is long gone, he is drawn to the farm at the end of the road, where, when he was 7, he encountered a most remarkable girl, Letty Hempstock, and her mother and grandmother. He hasn't thought of Letty in decades, and yet as he sits by the pond, a pond that she claimed was an ocean, behind the ramshackle old farmhouse, the unremembered past comes flooding back, and it is a past too strange, too frightening, too dangerous to have happened to anyone, let alone a small boy. It's a groundbreaking work, as delicate as a butterfly's wing, and as menacing as a knife in the dark. The Ocean at the End of the Lane is told with rare understanding of all that makes us human, and shows the power of stories to reveal and shelter us from the darkness inside and out. It's beautiful. It's got some really scary bits in as well, like proper Neil Gaiman spooky bits, but then proper Neil Gaiman heart and magic.
Whimsy, I was going to say.
Yes. Well, if you think about the relationship of Letty and the mother and the grandmother. Anywho. What have you got?
At first, I wanted to suggest Needful Things by Stephen King, because, I like to make everything twisted and scary. And so that one, it's about an antique store, and you go and you find exactly what you need, but then you have to play a prank on someone, and then it's terrible. I thought about that, but then I thought, no, that book came out so long ago. Let's do something.
But to be fair, The Ocean at the End of the Lane isn't exactly a recent publication either.
I know, but this one's 1991. And it's Stephen King. It doesn't necessarily fit the vibe of Fictional Hangover. So then I went to Reddit, and I was searching for books set in goblin markets. And I have discovered one that I would like to read. It's called Not Good for Maidens by Tori Bovalino. And this is the summary that came from Goodreads. Lou never believed in superstitions or magic until her teenage aunt, Neela, is kidnapped to the goblin market. The market is a place Lou has only read about. Twisted streets, offerings of sweet fruits and incredible jewels. Everything, from the food and wares to the goblins themselves, is a haunting temptation for any human who manages to find their way in. Determined to save Neela, Lou learns songs and spells and tricks that will help her navigate this dangerous world and slip past a goblin's defenses. But she only has 3 days to find Neela before the market disappears and her aunt becomes one of them forever. If she isn't careful, the market might just end up claiming her, too.
Ooh. That sounds interesting. Do we have anything in the new and indie spotlight?
We do, but this one is more hashtag tenuous link. And this one just came to us recently in an email.
Okay.
And this one, I think, takes the rage parts of In an Absent Dream.
Oh, you know
Yeah.
I like it when a book gives me rage.
Right? But, you know, it
people
might
think
not
it's
be
funny.
so bad. It might not be so bad, but there seems to be... I'll let you decide. I'll let you decide how hashtag
Okay.
tenuous link this book could be.
Okay, I'm listening. Give it to me.
Okay.
Give it to me.
Not About a Boy by Maya Hollis. This one comes out in July, so we've still got a little while before it comes out.
Okay.
Emily has never known what it truly means to be happy. She thought she'd found happiness once in a love that ended in tragedy and nearly sent her over the edge. Now, at 17, Mel is beginning to piece her life back together. Under the supervision of Laurel Child Services, the exclusive foster care agency that raised her, Mel is sober and living with a new family among Manhattan's elite. It's her last chance at adoption before she ages out of the system, and she promised this time she'll try. But a casual relationship with a boy is turning into something she never intended for it to be, causing small cracks in her carefully constructed walls. Then, the sister she has no memory of contacts Mel, unearthing complicated feelings about the past and what could have been done. As the anniversary of the worst day of her life approaches, Mel must weather the rising tides of grief and depression before she loses herself and those close to her all over again.
Oh.
That sister's coming in and ruining stuff.
Bloody
Maybe.
sisters. I'm glad I've got a brother. Sisters, man.
Sisters.
Oh,
Anyway.
sister, we'll be best friends. No.
Nah, Doug. Okay, that's
Anyway.
it. That's it
Is
for
that
this
it?
episode of Fictional Hangover. Yep, it's over.
Let's go
I'm
think about
Amanda.
our oddly handsome
Yes,
unicorn centaur
oddly handsome unicorn
pie
centaur
baker.
pie baker.
Yes.
Okay, that's it. I'm Amanda.
I'm Claire.
Join us next time as we discuss The Princess and the Grilled Cheese Sandwich
Nom, 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 nom.
by Dea Muniz. Look out for our Would You Rather polls and monthly challenges on social media. Don't forget about our book club on Discord. Be sure to visit our shop on Redbubble at fictionalhangover.redbubble.com for all your favorite Fictional Hangover themed merchandise, and become a patron of ours on Patreon at patreon.com/fictionalhangover. Until next time, remember, the only cure for a fictional hangover is another book.
You can find us at fictionalhangover.com. Follow us on Instagram, Threads, TikTok and YouTube at Fictional Hangover. And find us on Facebook at facebook.com/Fictional Hangover. If you like this episode, check out our others and be sure to rate, review and subscribe so you don't miss out. And finally, special thanks to Liz Emerson for our music. You can find her on Facebook and Patreon. Thanks for listening.